Good morning and welcome to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
And welcome to Tuesday. Keep reminding yourself of that. Usually when we have these Monday holidays, you get a day behind. So, yeah, it's Tuesday.
It
Welcome
sure
aboard.
is. And those 4-day work weeks usually means that you're cramming 40 hours into 32. So
That's exactly right. So I hope you had a good Labor Day weekend. According to some of the news reports, the local businesses saw foot traffic increase over Labor Day weekend. Well, that's nice to know. Did anybody buy anything?
Yeah.
You have a lot of the foot traffic you want. I go into a lot of places just looking and don't buy a thing. So,
yes.
foot
it's
traffic's
interesting
nice.
that they use foot traffic instead of saying, hey, sales were up at local businesses.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, for sure.
So that might not be a good
But
thing.
Bidenomics is working.
Yes, it sure is in the way that they want it to, right?
Yeah. Did you actually hear the dumbass in chief speaking over the weekend that his predecessor hadn't done anything? He exported all these jobs to China, and we're the ones I'm the one that's bringing them back, and I've created more jobs in the last 15 minutes than any president in the history of the world. I mean, it's just
I think
unbelievable.
that's what we call gaslighting.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, a lot of mostly on the gas side. But he's worried because also he's worried about a house to stay in back in Delaware, because he needs to be there because they're upgrading the White House or something like that. But he said he's really not homeless. So after
No, he owns several homes.
yeah, after the people that have lost their homes and lost their livelihood in Florida and places here in Georgia or the Carolinas and Maui, and has not yet to go to East Palestine, Ohio, and we need to teach him how to pronounce it. He says he's making fun of homelessness, basically.
This president has not been what they promised. I heard that he was going to be compassionate and that he really cared about people.
I sure am glad he's not sending out any mean tweets.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely prefer that. At least they were honest, right?
Mm-hmm.
The tweets were honest. You might not have liked them, but they were honest.
Yeah, honest, and also he had a president that was actually working for America and not for his own aggrandizement.
Well, I do think that Trump still works more than Joe Biden does.
Well, yeah.
So I think
no kidding. He's been to East Palestine, Ohio, by the way.
Yes, he has.
Mm-hmm.
Actually done more for those people than maybe the federal government.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the stuff that we're seeing from this president and his regime concern me, Bill, because they are not slowing down, even though we are headed into the 2024 election cycle.
No.
Which normally you see them pivot and try to do better just so they can, win an election, and then they go back to what they're doing. But
so they must know something that we don't, and it's called fixing elections. It was something we need to take care of here in Georgia, but apparently that doesn't seem to be a top priority either.
Yeah, as Brian Kemp came out and said, number one, they're not going to do a special session, not for any reason, and that includes what's going on up in Fulton County with that DA who's been wonderful to deal with. But also the Speaker of the House came out and said, yes, they will not be doing a special session for going to look at what Fani Willis is doing in Fulton County and to see if what she's doing is legitimate. They have the power to investigate. They do have the power to defund what's going into Fulton County because they do. Every county receives state funding.
Yeah. So they need to be looking into it, and apparently they're not. There doesn't seem to be any concern. I don't know what they think the political fallout's going to be of this. You're going to get criticized whether you like it or not by the lamestream media because they're not on your side. They're still having a cow over the fact that Donald Trump's numbers are going up.
Well, if you keep indicting him, the numbers will continue to go up. I think people are just thinking, gosh, this is political prosecution at this point.
No, that's right. The American people are a lot smarter than you think they are, and they're a lot smarter than you in the lamestream media. And they know that this is a ruse. They know that all of this that Donald Trump is getting is what Joe Biden should be getting.
Well, and, Bill, I think that it'll be interesting to see how the 2024 election cycle plays out because will he be in all of these trials while he's trying to campaign? And will they restrict him in certain ways so that he cannot campaign? That will be interesting to see. I do believe they've restricted some of the things he can talk about, if I'm not mistaken.
there's that, and as Dan Bongino has said, and has been reiterated even by Tucker Carlson and others, they're trying to get this guy killed. As hard as that is to believe, you can say we can't say that. Well, they're putting him in all these positions where he is exposed to the public, and would be a target to some radical that wants to kill him.
Yeah. Do you think that that's maybe why Joe Biden is always hidden away?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, among other things.
Yeah.
So he's probably going to run this basement campaign again if he intends to run, or if the Democrats figure out what they can do to get rid of this guy, maybe get Michelle Mabel to run.
Yeah, I don't know that Michelle Obama's going to run. I do think that we could see a Gavin Newsom. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out, though, because you also have to carefully consider that Kamala Harris would be next in line to run for president. So they have to be careful on how they approach that, because they could disenfranchise some of their own voters.
Yeah, but I promise you they're not going to run Kamala Harris.
No, but they're going to have to find a way that makes sense for them to run someone else.
And they keep referring to her as an African American, and she ain't. By the way, I hate that term anyway. But because you ain't from Africa, okay? You've never been to Africa. You're not from Africa. You have a descendants from Africa. I've looked at my chart. I have descendants from Ireland and Scotland and England and a bunch of other places.
So are you an England American?
But I'm not. Yeah, I'm not an English American or an Irish American. I'm an American. Okay, born here. So are my parents. So are my grandparents and my great grandparents. And when I was born, my great great grandmother was still alive, and they're from here. Okay. And so are you. So knock off the hyphen crap.
We're all Americans.
Yes.
I like it, Bill.
Mm-hmm.
So there was some fun going on around the state of Georgia on Saturday, which is college football.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that UGA did pretty well.
Yeah, they did
Saturday.
well. UT Martin. I mean, goodness sakes, they could have beaten them with a freshman class. But it's one of those things where teams like that, you like to have games like that early. It helps. First of all, it helps UT Martin because you can figure out. It's when I did the Georgia Southern Coaches Show for 10 years, and when Georgia Southern football started, we were trying to get some big teams to play us because of the budget. You got a huge payday when you played Florida State or when we played Georgia. And that didn't come along till after I left the show. But we played Florida State, and they got like $250,000 for the student budget and for the budget for the football team and athletic program. And so those are important. And I think Coach Irk Russell also said that these kids get a chance to play before 60,000, 80,000 people in a big stadium like that, and it gives them the big college atmosphere that they wouldn't get otherwise. So it's good for the schools, good for their athletic budgets, and these kids get a chance to play in the big time, as it were. So you have those games early, and this week we'll be playing Ball State. I don't think that's going to be that's going to be another cakewalk too, as far as I'm concerned. There are some problems going on in the Georgia athletic program, though. They've had another coach that's been arrested, or at least for some kind of traffic violation, reckless driving, and things of that nature. They've had a couple of players that have had that problem as well. So what Coach Smart is going to be doing about that? He said he said in the press conference is that that this is an internal matter, and we'll be taking care of it. And I promise you, he will take care of it. What the big shocker was last night was Duke beating Clemson. Oh my gosh! And I mean, handed their head to them. What was it, 28-7 or something like that? And so it was not. Dabo Sweeney said after the game, he said, "I've never seen anything like this. He's flabbergasted that Clemson got their head handed to him by Duke of all people. So that doesn't happen very much. It's the first time that Clemson has lost a regional a conference opener in 9 years.
Oh, wow.
So it doesn't bode well for the Tigers. But then again, this might be the big wake up call that they need. Sometimes you get on your high horse and you think a lot of yourself, and you believe all these press clippings about how good you are.
A little
And
humility helps, right?
yeah, exactly. It happened to us when I was a student at Ole Miss. We were #1 in the country. We had just beaten Alabama on national television, and then Southern Mississippi came to town and beat the hell out of us on homecoming day. And that was quite the
Little embarrassing.
wake up call. Yeah, oh yeah, embarrassing to say the least, because the kids didn't prepare for the game. It was, oh, this is Mississippi Southern. We were gonna we could beat them with one hand behind our back. Well, surprise, surprise.
Not the case.
Nope.
Well, one other thing I wanted to touch on is that there is actually something going on in Atlanta today.
Oh, goody.
Yeah. It's always exciting when Atlanta is mentioned.
Yeah. That's the capital,
Yes. There's a trial going on for these redistricting maps.
Oh.
So basically, they're accusing the legislature of gerrymandering and impacting one of the seats there. So it looks like, let's see, General Assembly, if U.S. District Judge Steve Jones rules Republicans drew maps that illegally weakened the power of black voters, the Associated Press reported. So that's what they're going to be looking at. They're accusing them of eliminating a Democratic seat and boosting their majority of the state's delegation to the U.S. and House of Representatives from 8-6 to 9-5. If the plaintiffs win, the balance could revert to the 8-6 maps. So,
okay,
very interesting.
Yeah, I've heard enough of this garbage because they when the Democrats were in charge, I got news for you. They were redistricting all the time to make sure that the Democrat seats happened. They eliminated a Republican seat here, where two wonderful representatives for us had to run against each other in that district. And it was pathetic. So you Democrats just frankly keep your mouth shut, because this is what you do all the time, and I'm sick of it. Because we had a district here where we were represented by a congresswoman in Atlanta.
Oh.
This communist, some black woman, I can't remember her name right offhand, but she was a commie pinko. I mean, there was a blade of grass in Macon that was part of her district, and it came all the way down from Atlanta down into Chatham County. I mean, you couldn't believe that. You couldn't believe this redistricting that they did, this gerrymandering they did on that deal. It was unbelievable. We finally got that taken care of when the Republicans finally got in power for the first time in 100 years, or since Reconstruction or whatever it was, after the War of Northern Aggression. So that's what we had to put up with. What was her name? But she was a black activist. And somehow she became our representative here in Chatham County. We're saying, how did this happen? And you could see the way the map was drawn. I mean, it looked like a piece of spaghetti coming down, into Chatham County. It was unbelievable.
How bizarre.
Yeah, but finally we got rid of her and got that was the end of that. I think she ran for governor, and that didn't work well.
Well, I will say the maps that currently exist, they are very confusing. They're very convoluted.
Mm-hmm.
That's just looking at Chatham County districts. And then when you fall into the city, different districts within that. I mean, people are so confused about what they're able to vote for, who they're able to vote for, because they're like, well, I'm in county commission 2, but I'm in city commission or in city 3. Yeah. So people are very confused. So,
but know who your representatives are. Okay, do some research and know who your representatives are. Otherwise, you're screwed.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing, Bill. They make it so complicated that people can't follow what's going on. And so when things are redistricted, it's
Tell me about it.
The Board of Elections doesn't even know what's going on.
Yeah.
Really quick before we go to break, Lizzie Warren's with us this morning, and she says our state representatives are spineless. Gretchen Whitmer is on their list, and Biden can have any kind of spontaneous medical event and it will be totally believable. Getting rid of him will be super easy.
Mm-hmm.
That's true, but the replacement is what's going to be interesting. So when we get back, we'll be talking about all of the accomplishments of the Biden administration. Mm-hmm. I know you guys are excited about that.
That's right, and it won't take long.
I don't think it's an accident that I ended up writing music for a living, because I think I lived in a house where I saw how deeply it affected everyone in the house. And just how much everyone defined themselves by the music they listened to.
Music as a framework, I think, gave my parents my identity from a young age. You can like any music that you want if it makes you feel happy. And now when I hear certain songs, I think of them, and I think of them in their happiest state, and it makes me happy.
If they seem like they're having trouble talking about something, I try to tell them about a time when I felt something similar.
Whatever the issue was, we would tell them the pros and cons and how important it was, and that they had come to us because we could always help them. I think the real important point, we always told them, no matter what you do, no matter what happens, we will help you through it no matter what it is.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance, with integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Keep reminding yourself it's Tuesday.
Yes, it is. And it was a great long weekend, but we had that hurricane right before
Yeah, we did.
The weekend. But I will tell you, it ended up being beautiful out.
Yeah,
so.
we another one of those cases where we dodged a bullet that came by us. It was a tropical storm. It was mostly to the west. It was a tropical storm by the time it got here. Hit Florida at Cat 3.
Yeah.
And did a lot of devastation and damage down there. But they have a governor that actually knows what he's doing and is getting things fixed in a hurry. The president did go down there. God bless him. So he was right, Joey on the spot, as it were.
He was probably doddering around like he didn't know where he was.
Oh,
but
I'm sure.
Anywho.
He did think he didn't know he was in Florida. That was an important. That was an important point. That's something probably told him just before the press conference started.
Yeah, he could read the teleprompter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the other thing that Biden has been really great at, that Jean-Pierre, the press secretary, bless her heart,
Cringe.
She has been there for a while, Bill. I'm surprised she's lasted this long.
Oh, that's because she's stupid. And you notice that nobody asks when Peter Doocy actually asks a legitimate question, nobody follows up. When she makes this asinine, stupid statements that this president has done more for America than any other president in history, nobody follows up with that.
No. Could you give us some examples?
Yeah, please. So cringe. Actually, I think this was a Freudian slip more than anything else.
Probably, but it's actually fact check true.
Mm-hmm.
And what has Biden done for illegal immigrants in this country? She's going to tell us.
Uh-huh.
The president has done more to secure the border and to deal with this issue of immigration than anybody else. He really has. June saw the single largest month-to-month drop in unlawful border crossing because of the policies this president put in place. We've got a record number of federal agents and officers, more than 24,000, working to secure the border because of the funding this president secured. We brought 21 world leaders on the West Coast, as you all remember, together for the first time to deal with this issue in a regional way. Because of the alliances that this president has put forth, and we secured record funding for border security and management. And let's not forget, we've expanded the pathway to citizenship under this president. And mind you, he's been doing this on his own.
This administration has expanded the pathway to citizenship?
The pathway of legal pathway for migrants to enter this country. The legal pathways to migrants coming, yes.
From the parole program.
Right, from the parolee program.
Which don't lead to any sort of permanent legal.
Well, it's a legal. No, you're right. I agree. You're right. It gives you a legal pathway to come in, and that's what I'm talking about.
19. Okay, so
when do we have the 23 leaders from the world together to get this problem solved. Did I miss that? Did I miss that meeting?
Must have been behind closed doors, Bill.
Yeah.
Maybe it was out at Delaware.
Biden's basement.
Yeah, in Delaware. On the beach, actually. That's probably what
Yeah,
they
probably
meant. Had to
so.
be
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, the beached whale.
Yeah. And Christy Maud says, and because they say it, others deem it as true. They don't care to confirm the fact or fact check. It's insanity. You're absolutely right, Christy.
Yeah, this president didn't build the wall. He's tearing it. What's this thing about he's done more to protect the border than any other president?
Well, I think we have a clip of just how secure the border is.
Yeah. How secure is it? That's been lying around for 2.5 years now?
Yes, they've been selling off parts of the border wall. I think
Does Hunter need some more crack?
I'm not sure, but I think they said that it's around $2 million that they've made off of selling that. So
how much?
Around $2 million.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Boy, you haven't seen money like that in Washington in a while, have you?
Yeah. Well, they just spent it already. So Lizzie Warren says, I read Biden welding gates open at the border. Yep, that's exactly what that was, Lizzie. That is Arizona, and those are welded open. Yep. The original reason that they had those gates is because of the flash flooding that happens in the desert. And so it was to help with that. They were never supposed to be welded open or be open to let people in. Yeah,
exactly.
So there was a reason that they had them, but it wasn't for what they're using them for now.
But they are used now for floods.
Yes.
For flooding human beings.
Well, and here's the thing that's concerning is that a lot of the imagery that I've seen, Bill, is that it's not like people, families escaping, these regimes down there that are horrible to them. It really is a lot of military-age men, which really concerns me, especially when you see what's happening in Europe.
Where have they gone? Where are these people going?
I mean, they're in New York, they're in Chicago. I mean, they're going into these housing places and they're creating havoc in a lot of these cities, from what I understand.
Yeah.
We've been shielded from it a little bit down here, but I don't think that is going to continue to be the case. They are shipping a lot of these illegal immigrants into red states, and there is a reason for that.
Yeah. Did you? Yeah, because they had of all places, there was rioting and looting in a place in Casper, Wyoming. Casper, Wyoming?
It's an easy place for people to drop illegals off to because there's so much open land, Bill. So it's very easy to drop them off and have them create their own little areas they can live. I did hear that they're creating these along the border where there's just these, shanty houses everywhere. And I mean, they basically are these lawless communities that these illegal immigrants are living in. And it's on the American side of the border. So Texans are also feeling the pain of that. One thing I did want to touch on maybe in just a minute is just the trial of Ken Paxton, but really quick, there is a leader that is in charge over in Israel, and he is actually going to be deporting a bunch of migrants.
Good for him. Yeah, Benjamin Netanyahu, one of our heroes, is finally putting his foot down over this illegal immigration stuff, saying, see ya.
Yes, and here's why. So as you can see, they are rioting, they're destroying things, they're creating havoc in the streets. These are illegal immigrants from Africa that he will be deporting immediately.
Good.
This is what you should do.
Exactly.
I mean, you cannot go into the streets and terrorize people. This is insane.
Yeah, you're out of here. You'd think this was San Francisco or something.
Coming to a city near you, unfortunately, Bill.
Yeah.
We have a lot of African migrants coming in over the border right now.
And did you see what American businesses have said that how much money they've lost?
I've not
last
seen the
year.
dollar amount, but I think it's
Okay, get ready. Hold on. It's almost $90 billion.
$90 billion.
$90 billion. And they're estimating for 2025, in this fiscal year. For fiscal year 2025, they're talking about $115 billion. And they said
That's
they're
crazy.
wondering what to do about this. Well, I know what to do about it. I don't
Get
know if
rid of all
anybody
these
else is.
people.
I don't know what anybody else is
Enforce
thinking
the
about.
law.
They did have a show. I want to maybe have on it tomorrow on Fox and Friends this morning. There is a
This is crazy.
Yeah,
This
is something.
footage is crazy.
Yeah, something developed in the EU. Where was that? Was that Jerusalem?
I'm not sure what city that was in, but definitely I do know that it's causing him to say, okay, we're done. Like these migrants need to go. They are not going to do this in our cities, in our country.
Good for him.
And Lizzie Warren says Calgary, Canada, having riots among immigrants as well. We're going to see this.
Canada.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, with someone like Trudeau in charge, I'm not surprised.
Well, yeah, of course, yeah. The Prime Minister blackface. Yeah. Well, here we go. But there was a clip on this morning on Fox and Friends. They had a gentleman who is selling it. It's something like they're fog machines.
Okay.
That they're putting in these. That started out in the EU, but these machines are made over there, and a lot of places have been given permission, and it works with your security alarms, and when as soon as somebody breaks in or starts to smash and grab, these fog machines cut on, and you can't see a thing, and if you can't see it, you can't steal it. Is their slogan. And so they've come up with. They said that they've been very effective in a lot of these stores where people have broken in. They said, now what do you do if it happens during it? So far they haven't done during business hours. There's been break-ins overnight or something like that, and it's a cut to the security system. But these fog machines just come in and just throw this fog into the place, and you can't see your hand in front of your face. So. They've told the same thing to, if they warn, if they had to do during business hours, they say they might warn people that these things are in use and just stay where you are if these things come on, because you're not going to be able to see anything.
And that's also kind of scary, especially when you see who is doing a lot of this rioting and looting in these stores.
But the whole thing is, why should businesses have to spend more money on something else?
Why can't we just enforce the laws on the books?
Yeah.
I don't know. Lizzie Warren says that immigrants have no intentions of assimilating, which is a huge, huge problem. That's why we have a process for people coming into the country. And Christy Maud said that was Southern Tel Aviv. So thank you.
When we started this country and all the immigrants started coming in, they wanted to be Americans. They came here to be Americans. They came here to go to work. There wasn't any minimum wage. They got any kind of job that they could find, and they took it immediately. And they got any place to live that they could find, and they started going to they sent their kids to the nearest public school, and public schools taught about Americanism in those days. They taught the word in English. The kids learned English. You had to learn English. You didn't go in there demanding that they be taught in Polish or Irish American or anything else. Gaelic. They said you were going to speak English, okay? And that's what was called the melting pot. And that's how we became the greatest country in the world in less than 200 years.
Yeah, and our schools right now are spending a huge sum of ESL on ESL classes, according to Lizzie Warren, which I don't doubt. I think that they were asking for translators to come into the school board meetings.
Well, I went before the school board. I'm sure it fell on deaf ears for the most part. And I said, translators my butt. You teach these kids English. When I was going to Jacob G. Smith Elementary School here, right up the street from where the studio is, we had a kid come in. I think he was from Brazil. But he could say, please, thank you, and may I go to the bathroom, was about the extent of it. Within 3 weeks, he was conversing with us. And within 3 months, he could speak English as well as we could. So all this nonsense, I heard a lady say the other day that we had actually a speaker at Kiwanis who was one of these, seemed to be a migrant, pro-migrant person. And she said that she was working with a lady and trying to get her some stuff, and who had been here for 25 years. And she was working with her with an interpreter and stuff. I said, whoa, wait, hang on a second. She's been here 25 years and she still needs an interpreter?
That's what we've allowed in the country, Bill.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I'm all for, helping people out and things like that. But at the end of the day, if I go to another country, I don't have the expectation that they speak my language.
Uh-huh.
But
if I dialed up a German bank right now, I'm thinking, if for German press 1, for English press 2, or something like that. No. It was for. I would like to see some of our businesses now say for English, press 1, for Spanish, learn English.
I mean, I don't know why we don't have a national language here, but Steve Stanton says, give them an inch, they will take a mile. And Christy Maud says, exactly. And that's going to lead us into our break. But when we get back, Bill,
we still have some people that actually care about defending America. And a lot of them are going to be here in a week or two.
When I grow up, I want to work for a woke company, like super woke.
When I grow up,
I want to be hired based on what I look like,
rather than my skills.
I want to be judged
by my political beliefs.
I want to get promoted
based on my chromosomes. When I grow up,
I want to be offended
by my coworkers
and walk around the office
on eggshells
and have my words policed
by HR. Words like
grandfather,
peanut gallery, long time no see,
no can do.
When I grow up,
I want to be obsessed with emotional safety and do workplace sensitivity training all day long. When I grow up, I want to climb the corporate ladder
just by following the crowd.
I want to be a conformist.
I want to weaponize my pronouns. What are pronouns?
It's time to grow up and get back to work. Introducing the #1 woke-free job board in America, redballoon.work.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance. With integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Happy Tuesday. Starting on September the 9th, just a few days from now, you're going to start hearing the sound of freedom. A lot of jets are going to be coming into Savannah to the Command Readiness Training Center, also known as the Air Dominance Center, which is the finest training facility in the world that some idiots at the Pentagon were so stupid thought ought to be closed after upgrading, giving us a state-of-the-art hangar for $23 million. Ribbon cutting ceremony and say, okay, that was in April. They said it's going to close in September.
The government loved to waste the money.
Even our left-wing senators balked at that. And fortunately, we have saved the Command Readiness Training Center, the finest training facility for air defense in the world, bar none. And we're going to have the big training called the William Tell coming up. That we're going to have F-22s, F-15s, F-16s, the F-35s are all going to be training and fighting against each other in a simulation out over the Atlantic, and they're going to be fighting against a plane that's going to have a big banner behind it. That's kind of like what William Tell did with his kid. These planes are going to have to shoot at this thing, and this is the first time it's been done in a long time. One of those pilots, you've seen us advertise Kiwanis. Last week at our Kiwanis meeting, we had an F-35 pilot, just goes by his nickname, Stone. And he said that this is going to be a big deal, but he talked to me first about the greatness of the F-35 and what it means just to be a pilot for one of those things. All right, yeah, we're talking with Stone.
All right. Stone.
Stone.
Yeah.
So if you're an F-35 pilot, tell me about the F-35. This is the newest aircraft, our fifth generation job.
Yeah.
What is it about this
great
airplane?
aircraft, right? So a step up in our abilities and our ability to fight, right? Our ability to wage wars. Really a piece of machinery that is just bar none one of the best fighters that I have flown. The capacity of it to be able to go proactively engage war. It's an incredible piece of machinery. So as I said, just props to the engineers and everyone who has been a part of that building process. It's really an amazing aircraft.
How is it different from like the F-16 or upgrade from the F-22, for example?
Yeah, so the F-22 is very similar and comparable. They're both fifth generation fighters, right? They're both built to be stealth. The F-22 is specific to air-to-air. The F-35 does both an air-to-air and an air-to-ground component. What that means is it can drop bombs, it can also shoot missiles, whereas the F-22, for the most part, is mostly missiles. They each have their own unique capabilities and strengths and advantages. That's the reason why it's a step up right from the F-16 is that stealth capability that I talked about, which is that fifth generation kind of concept. So for the F-16, the F-15, the F-18, those legacy type aircraft, they're very robust, very capable aircraft, but with those, right, the ability for both air-to-ground radars and air-to-air radars to see them is a lot. But what we get with the fifth generation aircraft is the ability to see someone before they're able to see you. And that gives that unique advantage to be able to exploit.
And we talk about the incredible engineering of something like that. You had mentioned that how smooth the wings are, how precise things have to be, because as sensitive as our radar detection systems are now, any flaw can be fatal.
Yeah, right. So you see, it's very smooth. You're exactly right. Where we just have to make sure that the aircraft is in tip-top shape. And kudos to our maintainers out there, at least in the Air Force, for what they do to keep those things in the best shape that they can. Because that's right, the aircraft needs to be performing at its highest peak level if we're ever called upon to use it.
Another thing that's unique about it is the hovering capability.
Yeah, so there's three versions, right? The A, the B, and the C. So the A model is the Air Force version that's got the internal gun. It's also got the ability to boom refuel, and it can pull 9 Gs. The C, which is the Navy version, that one can land on carriers, so it's got a little bigger wings and beefier gear. And then the B model version, that is the one that can come to a hover and land vertically. Yeah, really kind of crazy.
Kind of defying physics.
Yeah, absolutely. However, yeah.
Now, Stone, this aircraft has proved itself in combat, has it not? Because you were flying in it.
So it has proven itself in combat. I have deployed with the F-35. The F-35 has also deployed over to CENTCOM multiple times and dropped bombs, and also been a part of various missions out there. We'll still see. It'll stand the test of time for what combat we see in the future. Predominantly, the combat that I have seen was in the F-16 prior to the F-35, but the F-35 has seen combat over there, and it's proven itself.
In fact, you were involved in kind of a rescue mission, were you not?
Yeah, so you're talking about, that was in my F-16 days there in Afghanistan, where basically the situation on the ground devolved into something that they needed our support from the air to be able to make sure the guys on the ground got out safely. And so we were able to accomplish that. My good friend and I, whenever we were making sure that the bad guys stayed the bad guys and the good guys stayed the good guys and got home.
Well, isn't it amazing the capability we have with communications now, with a squad leader or somebody on a foxhole can call a pilot and talk to him and call in support, and
it really is. You got your form of communication, that's radio.
Services,
yeah, you got your communication, which is radio, right? But that has its limitations. But now in this day and age, we have a digital form of communication where someone can plug something in, whether it's a picture, coordinates, and then send that digitally to an aircraft to be able to employ kinetically, right? And we're just at the infancy of that. And so I can't wait to see what future generations will have on that to be able to make sure that we proactively fight that war.
We got a big operation coming up here too, haven't we?
Which one's that?
The one at the command the air dominance.
Oh yeah, we sure do. William Tell 2023.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So if you haven't heard about that, then check out www.williamtell2023.com. And what you're going to see there is a competition to basically crown the top fighter pilot team in the Air Force. It's taken a 19-year hiatus, from the last time this William Tell occurred. It occurred at Tyndall Air Force Base, and it's coming right here to Savannah here in September. And what we're going to do is go out, have a large competition. There's going to be F-22s, F-35s, and F-15s there, as well as F-16s and T-38s acting as aggressors. And what that's going to look like is a high-level competition, both BFM, right? Think inter-MDS, that's major weapons systems, right? Fighting against each other, just 1v1. And they're going to do ACM, so 2 shipped together being jumped from all sides, see how they can handle that. And then we're going to do a big competition with F-22s, F-35s, F-15s matched up as a team. And they're going to go out there and fight against the hordes, and they're also going to do a banner shoot. So they're going to shoot the gun, see how many bullet holes they can get into it, land it, count it, and that'll go into their score. We have 3 F-22 teams, 3 F-35, and 3 F-15 teams that are all competing here from all over the country, and the top one is going to be crowned champion. Yeah, it's going to be very cool. We also have an intel portion of that, so the top intel troop, the top maintenance troop, and the top command and control troop.
Man, that's what makes us the best in the world, right?
Well, I sure hope so, right? Like, we have a unique capability to train, and we train at the highest level possible. And that's so that we can, if ever called upon to go to war, we'd be ready for it.
Mm-hmm. And this threat from China, because it looks like their fighter looks a lot like ours. I think maybe because maybe some of that technology they may have stolen or something. I don't know.
I don't know anything about that, but they do have some ones that look like ours. They're a formidable threat, I think.
Hard to believe. What about? And we've just heard that the Ukrainians now, and there's nothing too good for our Ukrainians. We're getting the F-16s now. How's that going to change? What changes the dynamic in something like that?
The F-16, I had the opportunity to fly it. It's an incredible aircraft, and it's a multi-domain aircraft, so it can go air, ground, and air to air, and it's highly capable. And so I'm thankful that we can propagate that technology across the globe, and I'm sure that that'll be put to good use out there.
Now, I understand that you also fly another type of aircraft.
The F-35?
Yeah. No,
I sure do.
No, the A3, the Delta pilot, the Delta jet.
Oh, yeah. So, thankfully I've gotten the opportunity to be an employee of Delta, a wonderful, wonderful company, and they've graciously given me some time to continue to serve the military and continue my military service, and I'm very, very thankful for that. But being a part of that organization is great. I have nothing but highly positive things to say about the way that they have treated me as a member of their organization.
Do you think the two skills work hand in hand? What you learn in the Air Force as opposed, or the Air Guard, or as opposed
to? Oh, absolutely. I think the training that I got in the Air Force to become a pilot is bar none the best training I could have gotten in the world. And I think Delta recognizes that some of our military members that get our high level of training, that puts us. I was joking earlier, I don't think there's any situation that I could find myself in that I wouldn't have the confidence to get whatever souls are on my aircraft that are flying with me and that put me in charge. There's no situation that I see that I could get myself into or that the plane could get into that I wouldn't safely get those guys on the ground. I have absolute confidence with that. And I can only say that because of the training that I've gotten over years of service.
And when do you tell young kids, because we're desperate for pilots now?
Yeah, I mean, what a ride. There's nothing quite like it, the experiences and the stories and it's really incredible. The stark contrast between living on terra firma and then being able to, as the Air Force would eloquently put it, break the surly bonds and go airborne. It's truly a surreal and amazing experience that I'm thankful to get the opportunity to do in multiple different aircraft, and I hope to continue to do for a long time.
Well, thank you for your service to our country.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Bill.
Thank you, Stone.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Starts next Monday.
That's exciting, Bill. And Lizzie Warren had a lot to say about this. We used to hear and see fighter and transport jets, big helicopters, et cetera, over my house all the time. Since Biden's been in, hasn't seen them. Air combat experience, he probably will get it soon in Ukraine if Biden has his way. Prediction: Ukrainian pilots will not be able to master the F-16, and so American pilots will be pressed into service to fly. And there's your World War III. Even Coast Guard helicopters are being seen less frequently. And then Chrissy Maud said, we need more pilots because many of ours died from the jab, or they now have heart issues. We have seen a huge increase there, and pretty scary, Bill.
It is. Yeah. Thanks a lot to President Fauci. All right, coming up next.
Well, I want to touch on what's going on in Texas and why is Ken Paxton being
persecuted?
Yes, and he's on trial in the Senate there in Texas. So we'll be talking about that when we get back.
When you're looking to buy a business or sell a business, the experts at Best Business Brokers have you covered. Whether you're ready to cash in on your years of hard work or you're taking that first step in buying a business of your own, they're here to guide you through the process and make sure you get the best outcome possible. By having Best Business Brokers assist you when you buy a business or sell a business, they handle the legwork of the intricate process. This ensures a smooth transition of ownership, allowing you to get to work immediately or receive payment for your business as soon as possible. With base operations in Savannah and Charleston, they service all of Georgia and South Carolina. If you're considering starting a business here, the mild winters and 5-tiered economic areas make these the perfect places to do so. If you're ready to buy a business or sell a business, then you're ready to contact Best Business Brokers. Visit their website at b3brokers.com or call at 912-349-0940.
Savannah, I'm coming home. Savannah, we'll never be alone. Savannah, the beauty of the world. Savannah, let's all take a walk. Savannah, I'm coming home. Savannah.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance. With integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
Have you ever boarded a plane and thought to yourself, I hope the pilot is a transgender refugee? Have you ever gone to the emergency room and said, I hope my medical team is incredibly diverse? Have you ever moved to a new city and said, I hope the police department hit its equity goals for the year? If your answer to these questions was no, if you just wanted the most qualified candidates for the job, then you are normal. But we have a lot of very not normal people running America these days. Left-wing politicians believe skin color or gender identity should determine who gets the job. Democrats used to care about the middle class. Now they just care about your race and your gender. And as long as Democrats stay in power, it will just keep getting worse. Stop the bigotry. Stop the insanity. Paid for by Citizens for Sanity.
Who is a kid? Well, that's a kid. And another. Look, a gaggle of them. Or is it a herd? Litter? Pride. But what about her? Tell her she's not a kid. Or him. So how do we tell who is a kid? Height? Age, maybe. But some of us have to grow up faster than others. A kid. A kid wants to make the world better. And one day, he just might. Is a kid fearless? Vulnerable? Strong? Nervous? Yes. 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 Kiwanis is 600,000 kids at heart doing all the little and big things it takes to help children around the world. Because kids need Kiwanis. All of them.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Remember, it's Tuesday after the Labor Day weekend. So everything, okay, apropos nothing, but Pam and I go to Costco on Saturday to do a little shopping.
Okay.
We got a grandson that's got a birthday coming up, so we wanted to go out and look and see what we might be able to find. And walk in, and what greets us? Christmas trees and snowmen, lighted snowmen for the yard. It's Labor Day. We haven't had Halloween yet, and something else called Thanksgiving. Knock it off with the Christmas stuff.
Well, and I would love to see red, blue, and white all summer long.
Uh-huh.
I don't want to see anything else. I want to see Halloween in mid to late September.
Uh-huh.
But other than that, no thank you.
Well, and then, fall stuff for Thanksgiving. And then the day after Thanksgiving, the good, the Black Friday, where the kids used to go to the mall and wake up Santa Claus who was sleeping and, get Christmas started. Then the Christmas decorations go up. That's how you do it, okay? You don't start Christmas decorations on Labor Day.
I agree with you, Bill.
And for those who are advertising, it's Christmas in July. Stop it.
That is one of Bill's pet peeves, the Christmas in July. Don't do it. Don't do it.
There's one that's doing Christmas in August.
Oh, yeah. I don't love it. But I do want to talk a little bit about what's going on in Texas, because I do think that applies to what's happening here in Georgia as well. Ken Paxton, who was elected AG in 2022, yes, just last year, they had some changes happen as soon as he was elected before he was even sworn in with the impeachment process in Texas, which is interesting in itself. But beyond that, he won his primary. He won 70% of the vote in his primary against the George P. Bush, who also ran for AG on the Republican ticket. So he won by 70%. That's a huge, huge number. And then he won his election 54% of the vote. So he won his election fair and square. Everyone knew about this case that they're claiming that he did something wrong in. The only thing that happened was that he called someone out. This guy who was a developer was involved with some interesting land deals, and he investigated it and started to, call people out and pursue these people that were doing nefarious things. And one of the departments that was included in that was the version of GBI in Texas. And so when you start doing that and you start investigating deep state type stuff, guess what happens to you? He was impeached last week by the House in Texas, which is interesting because it is a Republican House. However, they are the only House in the entire nation that has Democrats in leadership positions. How does that happen when you have a Republican as the speaker and, in control?
I don't know.
Yeah, me either. So a lot of nefarious things going on in Texas. I do think that this continues the battle between grassroots and the establishment Republicans. We're seeing that here in Georgia as well. But the fact that they are now moving forward with impeachment, the trial is starting today in the Senate. Will be interesting to see how this plays out. I do think that this is the degradation of normalcy in the legislatures all around the country.
Yeah, so it doesn't bode well for ours either.
Yes.
We can't have a special session over what's going on here in Georgia. So.
No, and the other thing is I heard something, people are upset that we are, calling our representatives and having our voices be heard, and they're saying you're harassing the representatives if you're having people call. And
no, I thought that was, you represent us. We voted for you.
Well, isn't it consent of the people?
Yeah.
It's not consent of the government. It's consent of the people. You should be doing the will of the people. So how do you know what the will of the people is if no one's contacting you?
One of the things that they always when they do the Gettysburg Address thing, the kids used to do it in high school.
407 years ago.
Yeah, that's right. and say, this is a government of the people, for the people, by the people. Experts and going to historians going back and looking at records, that's not the way Lincoln said it. He said, this is a government of the people, for the people, by the people. He emphasized the people. He didn't emphasize, it wasn't like of the people, for the people, by the, he didn't run across it like that. He emphasized the fact that it's us that runs the government.
Yeah, so I think that there's needs to be a mind shift of, it's not about, not supporting Kemp or supporting Kemp. It's about what should the will of the people look like. And, if we're the majority, we're the majority. But if we're not, we're not. But I do think that voices need to be heard. And just because we don't agree on things does not make me any less of a Republican than it makes someone else.
Exactly.
And I think that that's where we're at with the Republicans is, unfortunately, because we disagree on certain things, which, the election stuff, that is one hot topic that we always hear about. And, establishment people, they don't want to hear about the election. But what does anyone disagreeing with the results of an election or them feeling like there is some fraud, how does that impact you negatively? Why does that set you off, or why does that make you angry that we're questioning it, or that, we want stuff investigated, or we want to see a different process because we want to believe that our vote counts? So I just don't understand the argument or why we're fighting over that, Bill. I don't know if you can shed some light there, but I have always been confused by this.
Well, it's a lot to be confused about. That we have depended too much on our government and letting the government take care of it. I remember one of my favorite talk show hosts, who's since retired, Neil Bortz, used to say that maybe we don't deserve freedom, the freedom that we have, if we're going to turn our feelings over and all of our confidences and everything over to the government, that we want somebody else to take care of it for us. We want the government to give us the handouts. We want the government to take care of us so we don't have to make the decisions. So we don't deserve the freedom that we have. It's not taught in our schools anymore. And that's the biggest problem. That the argument for public, because there's nothing in the Constitution that said we have to have a public school system. Nothing. No mention of public schools. The argument for it was because we can keep this country united, and we could teach patriotism and honor and the establishment of the government and the establishment
being
of this
an American?
country. Yeah, being American, and how great it was. And of course, that has not been the case, because when the communists took over our education system, that went away. And they talked about how great the government was. The extreme court expelled God from schools. And, I was going to school when God was expelled. And things have deteriorated rapidly.
Yes. And I will say that we have some comments here. And Lizzie Warren says that dissent is the cornerstone of the Republic. And Christy Maud said that's very true. It's like families. They don't always agree on every single topic. I know. I don't understand this with Republicans. They're ridiculous. Steve Statton says, love Bortz. And Lizzie Warren says that we've gotten complacent. And that's exactly what's happened. I think that we've relied a lot on trusting what's happening in schools and different things with the government. And now that we're all, doing some investigating and doing a little bit of our own research, I think we're seeing that maybe the government hasn't been as honest as they maybe should be.
Yeah, well,
Or transparent.
We've had at least 2 generations grow up where everything was hunky-dory.
Yes.
There was plenty of everything. And there was lots of freedom. There was no wars going on. If they were over somewhere else. Hadn't come to our shores.
Right.
And you get complacent after a while. I think sometimes if I were a guard, a night watchman, and I'd been there for 20 years, and I had to walk around the place 3 or 4 times a night, and after about 18 or 19 years, I'm like saying, okay, nothing's ever happened. I can skip tonight. I can just sit here. I can take a nap or whatever, and probably nothing will happen.
But it could.
Until one night it does.
Yep.
And all of a sudden you're caught with your pants down, so to speak.
Yeah. So I hope that people get more involved. We're seeing a grassroots movement across Georgia. I think we're seeing it nationwide, but there's not enough of us. So if you haven't gotten involved, I suggest reaching out to some of these organizations, even your local GOP. They are doing a lot, and they need more people. They need more help. But I do think what's going on in Texas is a shame, and we'll be following this trial as it could. If they don't dismiss it outright in the Senate, then this could go on for 2 to 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
Hopefully Kim will get off. Win this thing.
Well, and if you don't know who Ken Paxton is, he is the Firebrand AG that filed lawsuits in 2020 against the states that had changed their election laws or had not followed their election laws and said that they were disenfranchised by other states not following the law. So he is a firebrand, and that's why they're coming after him. So
doing that, they're coming after Ted Cruz. I mean, you name the person that's fighting the deep state, and you see where the money's going.
Absolutely. And Mary McCann Hybrider's with us, and she said, "We have been sleeping. Time to wake up, America." Absolutely. And that's what we're doing here. So if you'd like to continue to support us, please make sure that you become a member. You can also donate at thelocalspins.com/GRA. And if you have any interest in being involved in a television station, become an investor.
Yeah, please. We need your help. Otherwise we're going to go away. I mean, there's no other way to put it. And you must know a small business or businesses that actually care about America and want a conservative viewpoint from the news, because you're not getting it from the corporate-owned television stations that are here now.
Yes, and we want to cover more local stories, and in order to do that,
without your help.
Yep, we need to hire some reporters, and there is a lot to discover here in Chatham County.
Sure is. So
help us out.
Just had more shootings over the weekend in the safest city in the world.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, thanks, Mayor Johnson.
Yes. Well, we'll be back tomorrow. Thanks so much for tuning in. And that's all we got.
Yeah, we'll see you tomorrow. Stay real. Remember, you can't spell Democrat without RAT.